Hi there, this is Rugby Doc, and we're on the road. We're at Life University, and for those of you who are from other countries, Life University has a unique situation in that they're a collegiate rugby program, but they also have a men's club program that competes in the USA men's club division. And I'm sitting here right now with the head coach of the Collegiate D1A program, Colton Cariaga, national champions, and I'm sitting here with the coach, Blake Bradford, of the men's Division I club rugby program, national champions. So you guys run a very successful program. I mean, I've been part of it. I started with the team in 1983. There's been nothing but championships since that time. You guys have taken the club to a whole new level where the championships just seem to be natural. It's like almost to be expected. So the first question I have for you is, when new players come to this school, do they just expect to win automatically, or is it something that you have to develop in them, or teach them along the way? One of you can take it, and the other one could add on.
Well, I think the first thing that happens is you're in for a rude awakening when you show up, because we train exactly like we play, and so when you're the new guy, it's automatically you're under the gun from the get-go, because you're going against probably the guys that are projecting to start for that year, and they're gunning for you on day one. So whatever ideas you thought you had about this is going to be a cakewalk, or anything, this is going to be handed to us, you don't even get that in training, because guys are gunning for you in training. Just because the training environment is pretty competitive.
Right, so you got a crew of kids coming in here who are trying to make their own mark to get their position, so they're all competing against each other.
That's right.
Yeah, to add what Colton said, almost is more driven by the players, the existing players that are here. Like you said, it's when you show up, it's you either it's a sink or swim situation. You're either going to jump in and compete for a spot, or you're going to get left behind, and so that is the sad reality of it being such a competitive program. And so we don't slow it down for any new players. It's about coming in and adding value, and so we help them along the way and we help them adjust, but the standards are there and the competition and practice is there, and so they got to step up to the plate and compete.
Well, I could see that if a new player was coming in, and if I was a new player coming in, I'm coming to this program, I'm expecting to win, but then I get confronted with that situation where it's 100% competition. I guess you guys have to have a safety net to bring them up again.
Yeah, so I mean, we have onboarding processes where we get the players used to being on campus and being college students or graduate students, and so there's a big support network off the field, whether it's from the players or the club guys for the collegiate guys, or the senior players for the junior players. There is a lot of support. There's a lot of support from the university, right, and academic support, and from both of us. So we're going to help you out, but like Colton said, there's competition from spots from day one. So we'll give you the tools to be able to be successful, but the effort's got to come from you as a player.
Well, that brings me to my next point, and the big word lately in rugby the last few years, it's all about creating a culture within the club. Maybe not so much, a winning culture, but it's a culture that has to be developed. So a lot of coaches ask this question. They want to know, how did you develop the culture? Is it easy to get players to buy in this culture? And more importantly, the biggest question is, how do you maintain the culture of team here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were the benefactors of a pretty darn good culture that was built before us. I mean, dating back to even when you guys were here in the 80s. It's just evolved over time, but it's kept its same identity, in that which aligns with the identity of the school, which is lasting purpose, which is basically all about service and giving, and that's to us, that's the thing that is most important to us, is not necessarily any sort of individual glory, but it's about how you get measured, the way success gets measured here is by what you contribute to the team. And I think it's just so ingrained in the culture here that it kind of reinforces itself. So when you do something that maybe goes unnoticed, that helps the team out, that's sort of a thankless role or job, that actually in our environment is probably the thing that gets looked at the most positively in our culture. So it's just doing little things and doing things to help out. Whether you're injured or not, it's just making a positive contribution in whatever way you're capable of at that given time.
It's like that All Blacks mentality that they write about. The best players sweep the locker room. The man of the match has to sweep the locker room after the game or after practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason why, again, I mean, that's something that's ingrained in rugby culture. The All Blacks are probably famous for it, but the reality is that's why everybody can sort of relate to that in a rugby culture, because that's what's ingrained in rugby in general, and so that's what's looked upon and seen as something that we all want to strive for is really it's humility and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think to add on to what Colton's saying is like you said, we were benefactors of a lot that came before us, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the week to the guys as well when I talked to them, is that both of us came through under Dan Payne and Scott Lawrence, so we great mentors that kind of helped us prepare for these jobs that we have, and we're both graduate of our respective programs, which we came through it. We know what it's like to be a student athlete in our respective programs and in our respective teams, which helps a lot. But I think culture sometimes is this buzzword. People want to create culture, and I think for us it's more focusing on our core values. And if we keep focusing on these core values, we have it on the windows: honesty, accountability, commitment. It's and there's many more. Like you said, lasting purpose, and we have our season themes, and so we have these core values that we focus on, and when you strive for these core values, then the culture is kind of a natural almost result of focusing on those core values, and then the culture kind of gets built by the players, and then it's upheld from season to season and from team to team.
Well, I know that's awesome, and I don't want to let those core values get lost in the next minute or two. But you said accountability, honesty, and commitment. Yeah, those are good core values. While we were talking about, you mentioned student athletes. On that note, what do you expect from student athletes off the field?
As much as we focus on the rugby, they chose to come here to get an education, and so the academic side is just as important for us. We always want to aim at not like making them better rugby players, but making them better men. And part of that is them reaching their academic goals as well. And so our academic programs can be rigorous, and for my team, a lot of my players go through the Doctor of Chiropractic program, and so for me it's about helping them not just reach their rugby goals and helping them grow as rugby players, but also helping them grow as students and working towards that goal of graduating. And so that's just as important for us, because there's a lot of places that they can play rugby, but they choose to come here because they want to get an education and play rugby. And so we hold both those things in high regard.
Now, you each coach two separate teams. We have a collegiate undergrad team, 4-year school, 4-year university, and then you have a men's club team which was developed for the chiropractic students and for the grad school students. So it's two separate programs. You guys have a coaching philosophy. Do you share the same philosophy, or do you each have your own philosophy as opposed to coaching, as for coaching your own teams?
Well, I mean, it goes back to what Blake mentioned. Is just we're both striving for similar core values, and so naturally you'll see elements of those core values in the way that we play. Everything's kind of tied back to those. So yeah, I mean that you'll see it in the way that we play. So, but obviously we see each other's games all the time, and so we know each other better than anybody else would know each other. So they're constantly, maybe they might do something that we see that we want to implement, or vice versa. So yeah, and then obviously a lot of our guys have moved on from the collegiate team onto the men's club team. There's a significant number that have moved on. A lot of guys that have actually done a science undergrad that have gone into the chiropractic program, and some others that maybe are going into a master's program. So because they've spent 4 years in our program, then obviously they're taking a lot of what they've learned over the years into the club team as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, like Colton said, we, up until, last year, I had helped out with coaching the forwards and the undergrad team, and Colton helps out with coaching, with the club team. So we have a lot of similarities, but we also have our differences, and it's two different leagues, and so the styles of play is going to, be slightly different because we're competing in different competitions, and the opposition is different. So we tailor the way that we play, not just the way that we want to play, but also what's going to be effective in the leagues that we play in. And so there is slight differences, but like you said, the way that we play is going to be very similar, and Life has a certain brand of rugby that we like to play, and we try to stick to that with some variations to it.
And what's pretty cool too is, and you mentioned it, and it's another point I don't want to gloss over, is not many coaches of a highly successful program, you got two head coaches here, can actually sit on the same couch and say that they were teammates together of a national championship team too. I mean, you guys played together. I mean, you're on the field busting your butts together, and now here you are running a hugely successful program. So, next question is, what's your favorite aspects of the job, coaching? What's your least favorite aspects of the job?
Well, I mean, this is a dream job for me. First things first, the obvious, I'm outdoors most of the time, which is a huge perk. Just being outside, being active, moving around is good for my well-being, and gives me a bit of peace. So that's probably the simplest thing that I get out of it that I really enjoy. What I really enjoy the most is seeing the progress over the years, and having the patience to see, what he looked like when he was 18 and he started college, and how much he matures in 4 or 5 years. And then ultimately goes after the opportunity that he wanted the day he arrived. So we've sent a couple guys off to go into coaching, one to Dartmouth and one to St. Bonaventure, and they're both very successful programs. A few other guys going on to grad school and those sorts of opportunities. Some are going into the workplace, and to kind of just be able to look at the whole picture from the time that they arrive, or really the time they step foot on campus on a visit, to now being in the workplace is really cool. That's probably my favorite aspect of it. And he can talk to you about what he doesn't like. No.
Well, I mean, I'd say probably the worst part of my job is working with Colton. Yeah. No, I'm just teasing. No, I think similar to Colton, this is a dream job for me. Not only do I get to coach rugby, but I also get to teach in the chiropractic program. So, two of my big passions in life is rugby and chiropractic, and I have a job that didn't exist before I had this job. In the sense where I can coach and teach at the university, that I graduated from. So that's pretty cool for me. And I guess the thing that I don't like is the fact that in pursuing these two passions, it takes me away from my family. Yeah. And so I don't get to always spend as much time over the weekends with my family as I would like. But they're very supportive of me in pursuing my passion. And my wife is super supportive, and my kids are growing up around the program, and so that's pretty cool in itself too. And to what Colton is saying about watching these men grow, one of the coolest things for me is seeing the influence that they have on my kids, and how they interact with my kids and share with them, and the role models that they are for them,
Right.
and that's pretty cool to be a part of as well.
That's awesome. That's good. That's a good share, guys. Last question. Let's say I'm a good high school player and I want to play rugby in college. Why should I choose Life University for my undergrad or my graduate school schooling?
Yeah, well, you're going to be able to combine a really awesome athletic experience with a comprehensive education. So by comprehensive education, what I mean is that obviously you'll have your time in the classroom. Health sciences is probably our specialty, but our other programs are, catching up. Our business program, our computer information program, psychology. But all the education that goes on outside the classroom, we do all different types of briefings throughout the year from a rugby perspective. The athletic department does a lot of enrichment off the field that you simply wouldn't get at 95% of the other collegiate rugby programs in the country, because we are a part of our athletic department. We have full-time staff, so we're not just committed to 2 hours a day in training. We're committed to the entire day. So we actually, the majority of the time that we spend together is actually outside of training.
Okay.
So it's not just about what goes on in the classroom. It's about everything that goes on outside the classroom, and in terms of connecting you from where you were when you got here to where you want to be. I am from a collegiate rugby standpoint. We are most concerned with pushing you towards the opportunity that you want, and I think you'll find that if you chose Life University, that we're going to have just as many success stories from an educational standpoint and moving you towards your career than you would find anywhere else in the country.
And I'd say, just to add on to that, and I know that you've referred some players to us as well. They have the opportunity to not only play rugby while in their undergraduate program, but also then, if they choose to do so, whether it's a master's or chiropractic program, continue on and do their graduate degree in a rugby program as well, which not many universities in the United States offers players the ability to play rugby while pursuing a graduate degree. So I think that kind of makes it a very unique experience, but it also allows us, besides, I've mentioned the chiropractic students and the master students, but it also allows us the opportunity for the non-traditional undergraduate students to have an opportunity. Guys that for whatever reason didn't go to school, straight out of, go to college straight out of high school. Maybe they worked, or life just didn't line up for them to go to college, and they want to pursue a college degree later point in life. If they have undergraduate ability left, they can play in the undergraduate team, and they can continue on into the club team, so that they can have an opportunity to play rugby throughout their entire education, whether it's a year or two on the undergraduate team and 3 or 4 years on the club team, whatever it may be. It just allows us the opportunity to give some of those guys that didn't get the opportunity straight out of high school the opportunity to pursue an education, which I think is important as well.
That's very important. And then something that's not as important as education, this could be a topic for another video, is how many players have left the Life program and become a USA Eagle. I mean, it's astronomical, the numbers. It starts back from 1985. The amount of Eagles from the Life program.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys sitting down with me. I know you got teams to coach, and I really enjoyed getting to ask those questions, and I'm sure this is going to be a popular video out there. And speaking of videos, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and then subscribe, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.